For more than 60 years, when you think of investing genius, one name just springs to mind: Warren Buffett. But now, as the Oracle of Omaha gets ready to step back, there's this huge question hanging over the trillion-dollar empire he built. So let's dive into what is, without a doubt, one of the biggest succession stories in corporate history.
I mean, really, think about it. How do you replace a legend? You see this question in sports, in politics, and especially in business. But for Berkshire Hathaway, this isn't just about finding some new CEO. It's about trying to preserve a unique kind of magic, a trust that investors have banked on for decades.
And that brings us to this really key idea, the Buffett premium. It's that extra bit of value, that rock-solid confidence that just comes from having a living legend at the helm. So what's the biggest risk for the next guy in charge? It's watching that premium just evaporate the second he takes the seat. The stakes really couldn't be any higher.
So who is the person picked for this, let's be honest, impossible task? Well, his name is Greg Abel. And for years, he's been one of the most powerful executives you've probably never even heard of. And his low profile? That's not an accident. It's totally by design.
Now check this out, because this story really tells you everything. Back in the 90s, Abel lived just down the street from Buffett in Omaha for 6 years. And in all that time, they never met. This wasn't some kind of snub. It's just the perfect illustration of Abel's entire career. He's all about operating quietly, staying off the radar, and focusing on results, not headlines. And you can just see the difference between the two of them right here. Buffett is the global celebrity, the oracle, the master investor with a famously hands-off approach. Abel? He's the quiet operator, the hands-on leader whose real expertise isn't in picking stocks, but in actually running the massive businesses Berkshire already owns. He's not a Buffett clone, and that's exactly the point.
Which, leads us to the real heart of the strategy here. Why pick an operator instead of trying to find another legendary investor? Well, the answer to that really tells you everything you need to know about the future of Berkshire Hathaway.
Before he passed away, Buffett's legendary partner, the one and only Charlie Munger, gave Abel pretty much the highest praise you can get. He called him a tremendous learning machine and a sensational business leader. Munger was basically saying, loud and clear, that Abel's skills are precisely what Berkshire needs for its next chapter.
So why him? It really boils down to 3 things. First, his operational experience is just incredibly wide-ranging. I mean, he's shown he can handle everything from railroads to massive energy grids. Second, his age. At 63, he offers the promise of decades of stability at the top. And third, he's a proven dealmaker, the guy who built Berkshire Hathaway Energy into the powerhouse it is today.
Okay, so if you really want to understand Greg Abel's vision for Berkshire, you've got to look at his masterpiece, Berkshire Hathaway Energy, or BHE. This is really where he made his mark.
Under Abel's watch, BHE delivered this steady, impressive, almost boringly consistent growth. Net earnings just climbed from over $3 billion in 2019 to over $4 billion by 2024. Now, for a huge, regulated utility company, that kind of consistent growth is, frankly, amazing. And that's the signature of a master operator, squeezing more and more value out of these giant, complicated assets year after year.
And here is a number that just shows his genius, negative 77%. I mean, how is that even possible? It's possible because he mastered the super nitty-gritty details of renewable energy credits. This isn't flashy investing. This is deep, hardcore operational and financial skill, creating billions in value from the inside.
So what this all points to is a major shift for the company. The era of hunting for small, undervalued companies, that's over for Berkshire. It's just too big now. The new game under Abel is going to be all about creating value from within, by making its collection of giant businesses work better together. Finding synergies between its railroad and its energy company and its manufacturers. The focus is shifting from investment alpha to operational synergy.
Which brings us to Abel's first, and probably his biggest, challenge. It's the kind of problem most CEOs would kill for, but for him, it's a massive, massive test of his credibility right out of the gate.
$350 billion. That is the size of the cash pile that Buffett has just left sitting on the balance sheet. It's a monument to his incredible patience, but now it's Abel's job to put that mountain of money to work, and the pressure is just immense.
And it's really a 3-part challenge. First, he's got to find deals that are big enough, elephant-sized, as Buffett loves to say, to even make a dent. And that is incredibly hard to do in today's market. Second, he has to stick to Berkshire's tried-and-true rules: good management, fair price. And third, and this is the big one, He has to prove to the entire world that he can do it just as well as the master himself.
So, as we look to the future, what can we actually expect from a Berkshire Hathaway run by Greg Abel? Is it even possible for him to live up to the legacy he's inheriting? Just take a second and look at these numbers. For 60 years, Berkshire delivered an average annual return of almost 20%. That's nearly double the S&P 500. It is, simply put, the greatest track record in the history of finance. So the challenge isn't just to do well, it's to follow an act that is, statistically, almost impossible to repeat.
Realistically, the goalposts are shifting. The new Berkshire probably isn't going to be a high-flying stock picker. The goal now is to become something like an alternative index, a huge, stable, optimized collection of American industry that gives you returns that can hopefully still beat the market, but with a whole lot less drama and volatility along the way.
And that really leaves us with the final, fascinating question. Warren Buffett's genius was as a master hunter, finding and buying incredible value. The next 60 years will depend on whether Greg Abel can prove to be a different kind of genius, a master builder who can optimize and grow the empire from within. His success won't be measured in clever quotes at shareholder meetings, but in the quiet, steady hum of a perfectly run machine.